Hi. Ooh, can I apply to be one of Sonmi's assistants?
Oh, you wanna work for Sonmi? Well, uh, uh, I'm sure we can work something out, if you give me your number. The handler told me I could be Sonmi's personal assistant on tour, and he was about to introduce me to her when she was pulled away by her manager to meet some powerful people. And then I broke character. Ah! So close! In my panic, my wig fell off. The handler suddenly realized I wasn't an uwu girl after all, and he chased me out of there with his hand holding his shoe over his head, intent on exterminating me like a cockroach. Later that night, I was still roaming near the concert grounds, trying to think of a way to get Sonmi's attention, when I heard a fight break out in one of the alleys. I rushed to see what was happening, and to my surprise, I saw Sonmi surrounded by at least 5 guys, all moving in on her. My taekwondo training kicked in. I ran towards a wall, kicked myself off of it, and landed in front of Sonmi. Between her and those thugs, one by one they attacked, and I kicked them all away, only to land unconscious in the mud. Sonmi looked annoyed.
I had that under control, and now you've ruined it.
Sorry, what?
I mean, you saved me again. Thanks.
Wait a second. Just then, you spoke with a British accent. Since when? And what's that in your ear? Is that a... Why do you have weapons in your boots? I backed away from the wall, terrified. Who was she? Sonmi launched herself at me with a speed and strength I never would have imagined she would have. She pinned me against the wall in the blink of an eye.
Not one word of this to anyone.
But before I could nod my head, a voice came through her earpiece.
I'm tracking 20 of Wicker's men heading your direction. Unable to send backup. You need to get out of there now!
Sonmi's eye grew wide with fear. She grabbed my arm and half-dragged me out of there as we ran. We ended up in an old building. We hid in one of the rooms until the guys gave up looking for us, and then we heard a heavy door close and the clanging of the gates. We ran to the courtyard, but it was too late. Someone was still working that night, and they just left. We managed to get ourselves locked in. Just now, that voice said Wickers, as in Jude Wickers? Sonmi finally gave in. She told me the truth. She had been working Jude ever since we were young. It was the only explanation why she was with him. Sonmi had been gathering intel on him this whole time. Can't you, go to the roof and get us out of here?
I'm a spy, not a ninja.
How about, that girl in your earpiece?
Good idea, actually. No signal.
When I looked around, I realized where we were. We were at that old dojo I used to go to. Sonmi and I were trapped in there for 10 days. In that time, she told me everything about her secret life. And now that I knew everything, I had no choice but to join the organization. I jumped at the chance. I wanted nothing more than to see Jude fall.
You know what I said? Thanking you for saving me? I meant it. You were the first boy I met when I came here, and you've saved me twice now.
Oh, I wanted to kiss her. She leaned forward, and I felt my cheeks turn red. And then, the doors opened. The dojo owner had a huge fright when he discovered us trapped inside when he came back from his holiday. Luckily, I had an entire backpack full of snacks I swiped from backstage during Sonmi's concert. Sonmi took me to her headquarters, and I realized most of the people who worked there were people I knew from town. And when they heard how I saved Sonmi, even though she didn't need it, they applauded me. And the director named me Sonmi's bodyguard. The same classmates who used to call me a weakling in high school, they were now working for Jude, for his gang that has been rampaging through town, destroying businesses. And one by one, Sonmi and I took down their hideouts. It was so satisfying to hear them beg for mercy before I knocked them out. And then, one day, Sonmi came running to me with a huge grin on her face.
I found it! I found their headquarters!
Jude was hiding in a remote mountain outside of town, and his headquarters were hidden under the cover of a cave. Our only chance to get near it undetected was to join the upcoming hot air balloon festival until we got close enough to the cave, and we could infiltrate it without raising any alarms. We barely had a day to prepare, and so, when we went up in the air, our gear in our backpacks, I hardly knew anything about balloons. When we neared the target drop-off, we almost crashed into the cliff, and Sonmi told me to get rid of anything we didn't need so we could gain altitude again.
What are you doing? That's the thing that controls the engine!
But it was too late. I had let go of the huge metal blob. We were trapped in that balloon for 3 whole days, just waiting for the gas to run out and for the vessel to land on its own. Ugh. Seriously. Why does this keep happening to us? Sonmi shot me a look that told me to shut up immediately. But that evening, when the sun set, she kissed me for the first time. We hiked all the way back to the hideout, and in the cover of night, we went in one by one. Jude's guards fell, and before long, we caught him in his office. Kissing my sister! It was no wonder Jude was always one step ahead of us, always slipping past the organization's grasps. My sister had been spying on Sonmi too! But that night, we captured Jude and put an end to his reign of terror, and the town was finally free. People started rebuilding, and in no time, it was back to its old self. But then Sonmi vanished. No note. No explanation. Her and the entire organization just left. And I had nowhere else to go. One day, Jude's old followers came to me, begging me to be their new master. I agreed, and my first act as the leader of the gang was to disband it. I loved my hometown, and I never wanted to see it get trashed by people like them ever again. I became homeless. Without the organization, I had no job, and my parents chucked me out when they heard I was instrumental in taking down my sister's side piece. So, I had no other choice but to work at a minimum wage job at one of the record stores. I stood all day outside the store, trying to convince people to buy something they neither wanted nor needed, especially since they all had Spotify on their phones. The gang members I rejected would pass me every day and laugh. We told you to be our leader. Now look at you. You're nothing! I was losing hope by the day until someone actually picked up one of the records. I looked up and saw a beautiful girl. But it was like looking into a mirror. She smiled at me and walked away. And then I heard my phone beep. It was a message from Sonmi. And then I got a notification from my bank. When I opened the app, I almost fell down. I suddenly had $1 million in my account. I ran after the girl and just barely made it before her car drove away.
Hey! Get out of my car!
Not before you tell me who you are and why you look exactly like me. In that moment, I met my long-lost twin. I had no words. She was driving a Ferrari and her clothes were designer from head to toe. How could this girl be my twin?
My name's Alyssa. Mom and Dad gave me up when we were young. I don't know why, but Sonmi's real family took me in. She says hi, by the way, and sorry for ghosting you. She's been deployed for a special mission in the North Pole.
Alyssa finally told me the truth behind the organization, that it was run by Sonmi's real mom and dad, not the ones who lived across from us all those years ago. Those two were undercover agents, too. She blindfolded me and she stopped the car. 2 people got in, and they spoke to me while I was blindfolded. I'm sorry about the blindfold. We have to keep our identities secret.
We've seen you in action. You have potential. Seon-mi insisted we take you in. Now, when this car stops again, you will find yourself outside a building. Make your way up to the penthouse. From now on, your name is Jake Cuenca. You are a fund manager for a firm in Manhattan.
But every day you will make your way to the bathroom of a convenience store down the street. There you will find clothes. You will pretend to be homeless, and then you will befriend your target.
We want you to infiltrate his company and bring it down from within.
You will be paid handsomely. I did as they asked. I lived in that opulent penthouse, and every morning I would pretend to go to work. Instead, I was a homeless man roaming the streets. My old classmates passed me again and they laughed.
You were selling records last month! Now you're homeless! Serves you right.
They had no idea I was the richest man in the city. Seon-mi's parents were paying me millions just to track some guy called Henry Porter. And then, one day he came to me. He told me he'd seen me in the street a lot, and he offered me a job. I thanked him. I even cried fake tears of joy. And just like that, I was in. Henry Porter wasn't my target after all, because the moment I started working at his company, I realized who Henry's son was. The CEO of Porter Holdings was none other than Jude himself. He looked different for sure. It looked like his dad busted him out of jail, and he got quite a bit of plastic surgery. I was lucky he never recognized me because I started wearing glasses. I became the company nerd. I handled IT, which was perfect, because then I was able to get into their servers within a week. But the people there were rude. They laughed at me whenever I walked past in my oversized shirt and thick glasses.
Look at that nerd! What a weakling!
Do you even live, brah? I just smiled, and I pushed a button. The whole building shut down, and Jude ran out of his office in a panic. We locked eyes for the first time. You! Boys! Attack! One of Jude's gym bro employees cracked his neck. It's gonna be easy! He's just a twink! I didn't want to ruin my nice shirt, so I took it off, and everyone suddenly stopped in their tracks. They had no idea I was hiding a rock-solid bod under my oversized shirts, and one by one, Jude's weak-sauce gym bros fell to the ground. Jude knew the jig was up, but he didn't want to go back to prison. If I can't escape, then no one can! The whole building rumbled. 1, 2, 4 explosions went off, and the floor began to tilt. What the heck? He was going for mutually assured destruction! I grabbed everyone I could. I ran in and out of the building until everyone was out there safe. I picked Jude up and slung him over my bare shoulders. There was nothing the gym bros could do but watch as I rescued everyone after they called me weak. My reinforcements arrived just as the building crumbled. Seon-mi and my twin sister cuffed Jude, and the cops sent him away for good this time. And then, there was applause. The same people who laughed at me for being homeless and weak now owed me their lives. And as they chanted my name, Seon-mi kissed me.